Hello there. There are a couple of caveats to this account of King David. The first is that I have a terrible cold, and that's why I sound like I've been smoking 50 cigarettes a day. The second is that much of the information that we have is taken from the Bible and is therefore not only of a semi-mythological nature, but was also written around 400 years after King David's death. I will therefore make it clear at the end when I'm talking about aspects that there is archaeological hard evidence for. The rest should be taken with a slight pinch of salt. It's, however, a fascinating account, and so on with the video. Born in 1040 BC during the reign of King Saul, David, son of Jesse, was selected by the prophet Samuel to play the harp for the poor old king, who at this point was going a little bit loopy, in a bid to calm the old fellow down. We are told that he performed this task splendidly, and therefore became rather good friends with his Royal Highness. However, the music and merriment couldn't last forever, and when the Philistines invaded, David was tasked to fight in the front lines. Now, unfortunately for our musician turned warrior, the champion of the Philistine army just so happened to be a giant called Goliath. Yet David, being the brave chap that he was, volunteered to take him on. Despite still being just a boy and armed with just a simple sling, he was able to slay the giant and return from the battlefield a hero. Sometime after the Philistines had been sent off, he went on to befriend the king's son Jonathan and married the king's daughter. This did not sit right with the old king, and all the harp playing in the world could not calm Saul down. David was forced to run for his life, crossing the border into the land of the Philistines. Instead of taking their revenge, the Philistines decided to make David general of their own army. There is no record of whether the harp playing helped. The Philistines, now led by David, then had another crack at the Israelites at Mount Gilboa. In this battle, both Saul and his son Jonathan were killed, and David, despite being victorious, was deeply saddened and mourned for them in his famous poetic lament. Our hero David was then made king of Judea, while one of Saul's sons ruled over the northern Israelite tribes, until David united them both into one nation, the Kingdom of Israel. After once again going on the attack, is anyone noticing a pattern here? This time against the Jebusite city of Jerusalem, he once again was victorious, and the city of Jerusalem became Israel's new capital. And now for a story that doesn't involve a war. One day, David saw a beautiful girl called Bathsheba bathing on a rooftop. He had to have her for his wife. Unfortunately, she was already married to one of his generals, so whilst he started seducing her, he purposefully put her husband on the front lines of a war, and he was killed. God damn it. Well, at least he wasn't in the war himself this time. Anyway, he went on to marry Bathsheba, so I kinda guess that's a happy ending? Maybe? Finally, David had the Ark of the Covenant brought to Jerusalem, and he was going to build a temple to put it in. But God intervened, saying that David had too much blood on his hands, and his son would be the one to build the temple. Yeah, no kidding. David died in 970 BC and was succeeded by his and Bathsheba's son, Solomon. Now, there is archaeological evidence that David existed. However, the account is almost certainly exaggerated. Rather than ruling an empire stretching from the Egyptian border to Damascus, we are more likely dealing with a tribal federation. The capital, Jerusalem, was also much smaller than the Bible describes. Still, it's a great story of a warrior king.